fast you were going?
What? How fast you were going?
I don't know. 10?
8.
Be advised, this is an explicit podcast. If you're easily offended, get your panties twisted into a knot. Leave now. Run to your safe space. Get your little cloth for your tears. All the opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and his guest and do not reflect the opinions of any local or government agency. Welcome to Motor Cop Chronicles podcast. Of course, it's the first of the month, 1st of October. So, unfortunately, we start out every month the same way with end of watch. I don't do all the other stuff on these because it's not the time or the place to actual people to subscribe and stuff. We do have a bit of good news. It's we only had 10. That don't sound great, but there's only 10 end of watch deaths this past month of September. It's not the lowest we've had this year. 7's been the lowest, but 10 is the second to lowest number we've had this year. So, little piece of good news. Like I said, I'd love for not to have to do this at all. At all. It's not my favorite thing to do. So, at all. But I'm going to do it because they got a couple other people out there that mention them, but I'm going to keep doing it every month. So I'll go ahead and get it started and pay our respects to these fine men and women that gave their lives up in the line of duty. So we're going to start out with Correctional Officer 3, Caitlin Rittenor from the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, Correctional Institute Division, Texas. Her end of watch was Saturday, September the 3rd, 2022. She died in an automobile crash. She was 23 years old. She only been on the job for 5 months. She was killed in a vehicle crash while leaving the Ruben M. Torres unit. I assume that's a part of the jail. She had worked an assignment at the unit and was returning to her regular duty station when her car was struck by an oncoming vehicle as she merged into traffic. She succumbed to her injuries at the scene. She had served with the Department of Criminal Justice Correctional Institute for 5 months and was assigned to the Briscoe unit. She is survived by her mother, her father, sister, grandparents, and her fiance. Fortunate young lady lost her life very young. Next we have Deputy Sheriff Jonathan Randall Kowalski. If I'm saying it wrong, I apologize. From Cobb County Sheriff's Office in Georgia. End of watch was Thursday, September 8th, 2022. Cause of death was gunfire. He was 42 years old. It's not available on how long he had been on the job. Him and Deputy Sheriff Marshall Irwin, who we'll talk about next, were shot and killed while serving a felony theft warrant. And at 8 p.m. at night, they were taking the subject into custody when another subject inside the home confronted them with a firearm. Both deputies gave commands for the man to drop the firearm before an exchange of shots. Both deputies suffered fatal wounds. The wanted subject and the shooter both barricaded themselves in the home, but were both taken into custody later that night. Deputy Sheriff Kowalski was a United States Army veteran, and he had served with the Cobb County Sheriff's Office. He's survived by his wife. We have Deputy Sheriff Marshall Samuel Irwin Jr., Cobb County Sheriff's Office, and to watch Thursday, September the 8th, 2022. Cause of death was gunfire. He was also with Deputy Kowalski, and he was 38 years old. He had 10 years on the job, and he's survived by his wife and his 2 children. Next, we have Trooper Cadet Patrick Donald Dupree from Georgia State Patrol in Georgia. End of watch was Saturday, September 8th, 2022. Cause of death was a duty-related illness. Trooper Cadet Dupree passed away after participating in a physically demanding weapons retention course at the Georgia Public Safety Training Center at 7:30 p.m. After completing the exercise, Trooper Cadet Dupree collapsed. He received life-saving measures on site and was rushed to the hospital where he could not be revived. He served with the Georgia State Patrol for almost 2 months, had previously served in law enforcement for 8 years. He is survived by his wife, daughter, and his 2 sons. He was 36 years old. Total time in law enforcement was 8 years and 1 month. We have police officer Dylan Michael Vakoff. If I'm saying it right or wrong, I apologize. Arvada Police Department, Colorado. End of watch was Sunday, September the 11th, 2022. Cause of death was gunfire. He was 27 years old. He had 3 years on the job. He is also a military veteran. He was shot and killed while he was responding to a domestic disturbance at 1:40 a.m. in the morning. He and another officer were attempting to break up a fight between the family members when one of the involved men opened fire, wounding a woman who was also involved in the disturbance. The subject then exchanged shots with the officer and the other officer. Officer Vakoff was mortally wounded before the subject was also shot. He was transported to the local hospital where he succumbed to his wounds. He was a United States Air Force veteran and had served with the police department there for 3 years over domestic. Next we have police officer Lloyd Mike Todd of the Detroit Police Department, Michigan. End of watch was Monday, September the 12th, 2022. Cause of death was gunfire. He was 57 years old. He had 5 years on the job. He was also a military veteran. He succumbed to complications of a gunshot wound he sustained on December the 5th in 1998 by gunfire at a Nashville street in West. I can't even say that name. Anyway, he got shot in 1998. Him and 2 other plainclothes officers were attempting to stop a van in connection with an abduction earlier that day. Once the van started to flee, a pursuit ensued, and Officer Sean Bandy and other officers joined the chase. The van slowed. A suspect in the back opened fire on the cruisers, striking all 3 officers. Officer Todd, who was driving, was shot in the head. Shrapnel and glass from the windshield hit another officer. Officer Bandy, the passenger of the first marked cruiser, was struck in the head, neck, and chest by multiple rounds. Bullet fragments of glass hit Officer Bandy's partner. All officers were transported to St. John Hospital, where Officer Bandy succumbed to his injuries the following day. Officer Todd remained in a coma for over 2 months. It's been a year in a rehabilitative facility. He was paralyzed on the left side of his body, lost his right eye, suffered partial brain damage. He requires 24-hour care until he succumbed to his injuries 23 years later. 4 suspects were convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. The 5th suspect was sentenced to 5 to 15 and was murdered in 2017 after being paroled. Officer Todd was a United States Coast Guard veteran and had served with the Detroit Police Department for 5 years. He's survived by a son, his sister, and his brother. I'm not gonna say it right now. It aggravates the hell out of me that these criminals are living their life out in prison, and people say, "Oh, they're in prison." We'll get into it another time, but prison's not, it's not what you see on TV. We'll talk about it later. Sorry, I digressed. It just hit me and upset me a little bit. Next, we have police officer Sierra Burton for Richmond Police Department, Indiana. End of watch was September the 18th, 2022. She was 28 years old. She had 4 years on the job. She succumbed to gunshot wounds she sustained while conducting a traffic stop on August the 10th. Other officers had requested her assistance to stop a moped being driven by a narcotic suspect. Officer Burton had deployed her canine partner, who indicated to the presence of narcotics in the moped. As officers began to search the vehicle, the man pulled out a concealed handgun and opened fire, striking Officer Burton in the head. The man was shot and wounded by officers before he fled on foot. He was taken into custody after a brief foot pursuit. Officer Burton was flown to Miami Valley Hospital, where she remained on life support until September the 1st. She was taken to the hospice facility on September 3rd and succumbed to her wounds on September the 18th. She had served with the Richmond Police Department for 4 years. She is survived by her fiancé, her mother, and her stepmother. She was shot 9 days before her scheduled wedding date to her fiancé. So, there's going to be plenty of people, over what? Somebody want to go to jail over a drug. And unfortunately, the bad guy's still alive. Next, we have Deputy Sheriff Michael Hartwick from the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office in Florida. End of watch was Thursday, September the 22nd, 2022. Cause of death was vehicular assault. He was 51 years old. He had 19 years on the job. He succumbed to his injuries he received when he was struck by a front-end loader truck on I-275. He was working an overnight assignment directing traffic for construction work. He was outside of his cruiser when the front-end loader carrying concrete barriers hit him. The construction worker fled the scene but was apprehended 10 hours later. Another construction worker who helped the subject hide his work vest and flee was charged with accessory after the fact. He served the office for 19 years, survived by his 2 sons and his mother. Would you think that the construction worker do it on purpose? If you don't do something on purpose, why would you flee? It was an accident. Next, we have Senior Patrol Officer Anthony Martin from the Austin Police Department in Texas. End of watch was Friday, September the 23rd, 2022. Cause of death was a motorcycle crash. He was 54 years old, 15 years on the job, military veteran. Senior Patrol Officer Tony Martin was killed in a motorcycle crash at the intersection of State Highway 29 and RM 1869 in Liberty Hill at 6 a.m. in the morning. Officer Martin was traveling westbound on State Highway 26 when a vehicle traveling eastbound attempted to turn left and struck the police officer. Officer Martin died at the scene. Officer Martin was a United States Air Force Security Forces veteran and had served with the Austin Police Department for not 15 years. He is survived by his wife, sons, 2 daughters, granddaughters, and his parents. Last one we have for this month was Master Police Officer Terrell Owens Riley from the Columbia Police Department in South Carolina. And his watch was September the 24th, 2022. Cause of death was a heart attack. His age is not available. He was 7 years on the job, also a military veteran. He suffered a fatal heart attack while participating in the physical fitness training portion of the department's SWAT team assessment. He was transported to Providence Hospital after exhibiting symptoms of a heart attack. Once at the hospital, he suffered cardiac arrest and could not be revived. He was a United States Marine Corps veteran. He had served with the Columbia Police Department for over 7 years, and he was assigned to the metro region. So he had 2 training incidents, a lot of gunshot. They did have one K9 death, K9 rocket from the Metropolitan Police Department in D.C. Interwatch was September the 19th, 2022. He died of heat stroke. The male dog, Belgian Malinois, German mix. How long been on job, we don't know. He died after his handler's patrol vehicle after the temperature monitoring alarm system failed while idling at the facility. Yes, he was in a marked unit with the air conditioner running, and I guess there's these things on the vehicles that's supposed to let the people know if something happens and the vehicle stops running and stuff like that. So basically the dog died in the car from heat. So that's going to be it for this month. For September, we had 10, which is lower, but not low enough, as I've said before. So we've had a total of 181 in the line of duty deaths this year. Gunfire's at 49. COVID's still the highest, but unfortunately we're catching up with it. So everybody stay safe out there. Watch your backs. Watch your partner back. If you're religious, keep these men and women in your hearts, prayers, especially their families that's dealing with the loss. And I want to thank them for paying that ultimate sacrifice out there working.
Some have said that time heals, but gathered together here today, we know that's not true. The facts still remain. The empty chair, the unfulfilled dreams, the pain, the hurt, the loneliness. We ask your blessing upon the families who have been impacted by the loss of a loved one in the line of duty.
You took an oath to pledge your life in the words you spoke for people that don't care or even know you. You trained for months, now it's time to go out on the streets where we all know the danger and the hatred makes it to you. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. You pin your badge right up on your chest to symbolize duty for the rest, to keep them safe at night when safety fools you. You pulled a man from his burning car, but his child who died has left a scar. You live with that for life, but no one helps you. Hallelujah, knocks on his wife. She screams at you as you find his knife. She called you there to start with, and she booed you. You pin the man as he grabs your gun. He starts to ball and you try to run. You gain control and you do what you have to do now. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. You get the call that your friend's been shot by a man on a traffic stop. You spend the whole night searching for